Thank you so much, Kelly and Stephen, for sharing your heart and the story behind your family's virtue binder. Or is that what you call it?
Do we call it? It's our biblical character binder.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited for you to share it with our families. I know it's filled with reminders and reflections on what your family or how your family wants to show the virtue and scripture. And I know it really helps parents, I assume, or helps you guys not go into lectures, but instead have something to send your kids to reflect on. So we're excited that you're going to share that today. And I think the big questions is why did you make it and how do you use it? So anyway, let me look. I wrote up some questions for you more specific to those two goals. All right. So question number one, what inspired you to create this character binder for your family or virtue binder?
Yeah, I can take that one. We were in the process of moving houses from the east region to the west region, and there was some um, delayed time there. And so I wanted to focus, on when we move into our new house, what is our new family, or what are the characteristics we want to focus on and train on, and just a good way to reset for the family. And so I think just to get my thoughts straight, I started writing down, what are the important virtues we want to focus on, what are some scriptures that support these virtues, and what are some maybe scriptures that the kids can memorize and remember when we are talking about these virtues. So I think it was just a way to get myself organized, but then after I built it out, I was like, well, we can add more things to it, just really making it the Santellan binder and including, our family's favorite holidays and birthday presents and stuff, just so we know how to encourage each family member. So I think it just progressed from there once I got started.
Cool. We spent a lot of time just sitting down in front of the computer screen talking about like, okay, what virtues do we want to focus on? How do we want to train our kids in these and just kind of building out this binder that not only has a bunch of character virtues in it, but is also has a bunch of procedures and things that we like to do in our household just to kind of keep things running. So I think the main heart behind the binder was just as a way to kind of like a good source for like developing our family's identity and like we're the Centellans. How are we going to be the Centellans? What does that look like? And of course, tying that in with virtues in the scriptures and all the things that support that.
Oh, it's great. So it sounds like it's more than just virtues and teaching it to your children or reviewing it with your children. It's your family procedures. And you also said, Stephen, that you've put in there like love languages. Is that what you said? Or
Yeah,
gift?
so I have like a page for each family member. So if we are looking for a way to restore a relationship or prepare for a birthday, they can go to it and see, oh, these are the important things for mommy or Abby. And that way,
So each
yeah.
person has a page and has like our favorite
Oh,
things on it. And it's kind of like a reference that anyone in the family can use. Like, okay, I want to encourage this family member. Like, what can I do? And we just like having everything written down because then there's no excuse of like, well, I didn't know, or like, nope, everything you need to know is in here.
okay. So this is just a side question, but I think it's the spirit wanting me to ask you. So why is it important that your kids know what you guys like, not just you know what they like? Had to just throw that in there.
Yeah, now you throw me off with these off script questions, but no, it's a great
Okay,
question.
sorry.
No, it is. It's a really good question. I think going back to the whole concept of our family identity, we wanted our family to be a family that serves one another, not a family where our kids are running the show or where, we're bending over backwards to make sure everybody's happy and not giving any accountability to our children. So we knew from very early on that we wanted to develop the ability for our children to, be able to hold themselves accountable to showing love to us in the same way that we show love to them because we are a whole family unit and each member of the family should be contributing to that.
Building each other up.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, I won't ask you any more off script, hopefully. Maybe, I can't promise. Or we'll do part two, I have a feeling. Okay, so how did you decide which virtues to put in the binder?
Yeah. So I think we like Kelly mentioned earlier, we spent put the kids to bed and then just for over a few weeks we just spent time in the evenings. I mean, maybe 30 minutes to an hour each evening working on it and deciding what's important to our family, but also, what are some weaknesses that we need to strengthen, or what are some strengths that we can really encourage them and say, hey, you've got self-control down, or you've got being kind down. You're doing a great job, and maybe you can help show the family on how to lead in that virtue. So not just focusing on the weaknesses, but also like what do we see in our
Oh,
strengths. So
that's beautiful.
yeah.
That's great. Okay, so I think you kind of touched on this, but do you have any more you want to share just about what goals did you have in mind in creating it? I think you've touched on that a little, but
Yeah,
anything more?
yeah, I mean, our main goal was just developing that family identity and just giving, I mean, honestly, it turned out to be a really fabulous reference just from mom and dad, and aligning where we wanted to train the kids and where like how do we want this to look like in our family? So, I think one of the other goals of sitting down and doing this was to just kind of make sure both mom and dad are on the same page and having that common language of like we're both like I'm not teaching the kids one thing and then he's over here teaching him something different. We both have this common language that we can always refer back to of like, okay, this is how we've decided to do this.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think the other thing is, although these teach the kids virtues, these don't replace devotionals, right? We've trained and had devotionals on all of these, but do we always have an hour or 30 minutes to sit down and do a devotional with the kids in the moment? Probably not. But since we've already trained on it, we can go refer them back to the binder and like, hey, we've talked about this. Why don't you review the binder and see what it talks about with regard to righteousness or being loving to one another. We're not replacing the family need to train, but it's a good like, hey, things are chaotic. You need to go look at the binder and a supplement to time. So
Yeah, and I also think one of the other goals was just to provide a source of just consistency. I can be a very inconsistent, kind of all over the place type of person. He's not, but this is really helpful for me to just be able to remind myself this is the standard, this is what we're doing, and just kind of create that consistency versus like my natural personality tendency is to kind of tumbleweed in the breeze, so to say, like just we're being more reactionary, like, oh, this is what's happening and this is what we have to deal with, versus this is a more proactive kind of approach to developing that family culture.
So are you saying that you can't do a devotional just one time on self-control and they just get it?
No, you cannot. You will
Good,
repeat
because I'm
yourself until you're blue in the face.
I'm still working on it. Um,
I know.
so anyway, that's great, guys. Okay, so moving on. So how do you feel like your binder's reflecting your family's values, or how? I don't know, or even compare that to what's another family and how they might create theirs. What do you think it is that's unique about your binder, or do you think everybody should just do it like you?
No, I think each and every family is different. So one of the things that we opted to do with ours is we literally have a one of the sections at the top is like, well, okay, this is the virtue joy. What does joy look like for Santellans? Like what's important for our family and what is that supposed to look like? And then we give expectations for like, here's what we're expecting from not just the kids, but from each family member. And we go on to talk about, okay, how do we fight temptation when it's hard? And the moral reason why we do that. I don't think every family has to structure it exactly the same. the same way.
And I think also, that these virtues look change a little bit. When the kids were younger, um, every time we gave them a instruction, they had to look us in the eye and say, "Yes, Daddy." And that was sort of the expectation. As they're older, things are busier. I know they're listening, even though they're working on something else. And so that's not a full expectation today, but it's still like, the core part of it is first time, right away, all the way, happy heart, right? So I think each family needs to figure out what stage of life they're in, and then also how does it look for their family. So I don't think it's a copy and paste type thing. You gotta apply it to what you want your family to look like. So.
That that's excellent. And this is not one of the questions, so we can cut it out if we need to. But how do you think your approach to this benefits a family who maybe has a special needs child or is in a different culture? Not coming at it as everybody has to look identical, how they apply the virtue, but that they sit and self-reflect and pray about what their family, how does their family want to reflect Jesus to the world in that area? How do you see it helping other families in different situations?
Yeah, I think with it being something that's a little more flexible, I mean, it leans into the family really choosing to be like spirit led in what they're doing. Like, like we spent time praying through like, God, these are some of the things that we see that we'd like to fix. Like, what was that supposed to look like for us? And being able to work those things out, like a lot of it was working it out between us and God. Like, how is that going to look? And I feel like, yeah, if you have a child with special needs, like it's going to look very different, because they're different and people's needs are different. So I think it's definitely you just have to really ask God for a lot of wisdom and discernment on what's it supposed to look like in our family. And I think trust that He's going to reveal that to you.
All right, moving on. So, did your children and or spouse have any input as you created this? I think you said, Stephen, you started it.
Yeah. So I started it, I think more so for myself, but as I built it out, um, I wanted to apply it to the whole family and not just for my use. So I did pull in Kelly and we sort of came up with the process of what does it look like for the Centellans? What are the expectations? Um, what are some scriptures related to that virtue? And so together we worked on it once I figured out, okay, this is going to be for the whole family, not just for me. And then, that's the virtue section. I mean, there's more sections that we talked about, like who do we want to have over for dinner in the next year, right? And listing off families in the church to have them over. So we asked the kids for that input, and they wanted to add names. When we have a section just on the family members what their favorite things are, just so we know how to encourage that person. We explained what we were doing, and we went through the list for each of our kids so we could include that. So there's sections that we included the kids. If I had older kids when we first made this, I think I would have made it maybe a homework assignment where each of us go off and do it on our own, and then we come back and put it together as a family. Our kids were a little younger when we did this, so we
Yeah, I think
didn't.
they were 6 and 8.
Yeah, we didn't do that, but.
So, next question. How did you decide on the structure of your binder? For example, each virtue has this certain rhythm to it. Can you explain those sections?
So essentially, we've got 5 sections for each virtue. We walk through, we have a couple bullet points of like, okay, what does this virtue look like in our family for the Centellans? And that was honestly born out of conversations we had with our eldest on asking us, like, well, why does our family do it this way, but other families don't? So he started to kind of notice those things. And so we really worked hard on kind of developing like, okay, well, this is our family identity, and even other families in the church might not choose to do stuff the way that we do, and that's okay. But that was kind of born out of those conversations that we had with our oldest. So identifying like, okay, so what does it look like for us and our family and our household? How are we doing this? And then we've broken it out into we've got the expectations. We got a couple bullet points on like, okay, what does this what are mom and dad expecting of you? Again, because when we wrote this, our kids were younger, so 6 to 8 years old. So we wanted to clearly define what are the expectations for y'all. And I mean, those expectations obviously applied to mom and dad too. We identified, okay, so how do we kind of fight off the temptation to do the opposite or to do the vice of that virtue? So a lot of those things we just focus on like, okay, teaching our kids like, okay, we're gonna go sit and we're gonna go pray about it because our heart's not there yet. And just depending on what the virtue is, for example, if we're struggling with gratitude, ways that we can fight that temptation to be ungrateful is to go and make a list of things that you are grateful for. So it's really kind of specific to the virtue. And then we have the moral reason why. Why does God want us to do this? Why is God's way better than the rest of the world's way? What's the purpose behind it? And then we've listed off several scriptures that relate to that virtue so that we can reference those or the kids can reference those as we're working through that particular virtue.
Excellent. So if I came into your house today, how might the binder be used today on any given day? Why don't you share the, I don't think you shared the ages of your kids. Do you mind? You want to share that?
Yeah, so the current ages of our kids are almost 12 and 9.
Crazy.
So we've had the binder for a while, and I'm gonna be real honest, we used it a lot more when we first created it. And now that you're interviewing us, I'm like, oh gosh, we gotta keep pulling out the binder. But we do what my kids have now that they're a little bit older is they have little menus of like what they're supposed to do that day, and then I'll make a copy of whatever virtue we've decided that we're working on, and that's in their little insert so they can reference it, and then we'll work on memorizing scriptures that go with that virtue. I'll say when we first started it, we were much better at okay, I've noticed like you're not really being loving. Let's pull out the binder and talk about being loving. But I think a lot of that comes from we got in the habit of doing it, and now we can kind of facilitate those conversations without necessarily having to pull out the binder. So I will say, on the parent side of it, the binder is very helpful to pull out when we're in a conflict situation for me to have in my lap so I can get my heart right and I can read through those scriptures more so than it's actually necessary for the kids to have. Because I don't know about anybody else, but I have definitely yelled at my own children for not being gentle. And you know what? Sometimes, mom and dad just have to take the plank out of their own eye. So the binder is super helpful in that sense. I didn't realize when we started making it how much I needed it, how much I was going to use it to get my own heart right when I was, up here and everybody was on my last nerve. So that sense of it was great. And then what I would like for us, I mean, honestly, I would like for us to get better at this is when we're working through something with the kids, sending them because they are old enough now to go and read something, sending them and be like, "Hey, can you just go and go read about humility in the binder and come back and tell me what you think?" And putting more of that accountability on them, which again, we were better at it when we first created it, but I'm just being honest. That's how parenting goes sometimes. So we would like to definitely get back to that, but I definitely pull it out for myself a lot.
That's why we keep facilitating is still with adult children. I feel like Dave and I are like, oh yeah. Oh, why are we not doing this? And it's hard. So do you envision yourself expanding this binder or updating it as your kids get older? What do you think?
Yeah, I think these were I mean, there's so many virtues, it's impossible to do all of them, right? So I think this was sort of the baseline of what we set up. I think um as the kids get older, and especially, as our son gets to studying the Bible age, definitely just maybe revamping them so that we have the same convictions, or maybe he finds new scriptures or new reasons why we do these. Or, if he's struggling with something new at school that he hasn't come across before, we can study it together. So I think, it's definitely something we want to keep refreshed as the kids get older. Um, and then, I mean, it's such a, I think it's such a legacy thing where we can, continue it even as adults and grandchildren, who knows? But I think definitely
Yeah.
just keep evolving it, whatever stage of life we're in. I'm sure once the kids move out, we'll have to have a husband-wife binder so that I'm sure we'll get on each other's nerves or whatever. But just different situations, different virtues we need to focus on. So. Yeah, so just on evolving the binder, I think the other thing that I would love to incorporate in here is ways God has answered prayers and ways God has come through for us. Because I know Kelly has a piece of paper with sort of answered prayers from our college days. And I think having the kids have that same thing where they can
Wow.
go back and remember all the ways God's been faithful for them just would be such a faith strengthening situation or a reference for the kids. So I think that would be another thing we could do to just add to the binder.
Yeah.
And I just thought of this, so you can decline answering it if you want. But you guys are Kingdom kids. You were both converted at what age?
15 for me.
16.
Okay. So, had you had this binder, how could that have helped you even going through puberty and the that new phase of high school? How do you think this binder made something, a resource like this, doesn't have to be the binder, but a resource, how could it have helped you maybe get through those years?
I think growing up as a kingdom kid, we didn't get a whole lot of the moral reason why we do stuff. It was you do this because it's the right thing to do. Otherwise, it's bad and you're going to be
Yeah.
in trouble. So I feel like, and I don't know if this is your experience, but I feel like a lot of our experience as a kingdom kid comes from a very prohibitive conscience kind of mindset. Like these are the long list of rules versus I feel like I went through much more of like my spiritual growth and journey long after I was converted and became a disciple, learning like, okay, well, why does God want me to do these things? And being able to point our children to like God's way is so much better. And being able to like truly understand that and paint that picture for our kids. So
Wow.
I would have loved that. God still worked, we're still here, but I feel like that definitely would have been
Yeah. I
more
think
encouraging.
completely agree with everything Kelly said. I think the other thing I would add is just um, maybe at an earlier age having conviction on some of these virtues rather than I think at such an early age I didn't have any conviction or I didn't have reasons why we do certain things. And so at school it was a lot easier to be tempted and give into that temptation to be just like all the other kids. And I didn't have that courage or just strength to say, okay, y'all do it that way. I have a reason why I'm doing it another way. So I think that would have helped me just being a younger, not a disciple yet, but just being younger and having those characteristics that I could stand on and have conviction on. So.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's excellent. Wow. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think we can continue to always be growing and reflecting Jesus to the world and I don't have a binder exactly like that, but I do have on my prayer list document, I have all these different areas I've got to remind myself. And so it's no different when you grow up. We need the reminders. So I really appreciate your practical example. And thank you for being willing to share it with the other families, especially in our class right now. And I'm sure they'll have some questions for you, and I'll send them all your way.
Sounds
Good.
good. Sorry we couldn't be at class in actual real life.
Yeah.
Would you like to tell everybody why you're not going to be in class?
We're gonna be in Hawaii. Sorry, guys.
We'll send y'all a picture.
Yeah.
I don't know why you didn't want to do. I mean, you could have joined the Zoom call there. Come on. All right. Well, thank you guys, and we're so grateful for you.